First up, we're in Dayton Municipal Court in Ohio for a bench trial. Judge Mia Spell's presiding. 55-year-old Anthony Matthews has been charged with driving on a suspended license. Matthews considers himself a sovereign citizen, someone who believes that certain laws don't apply to him. And as the trial begins, it's clear that he's not planning on playing by the rules.
I demand that you dismiss this matter immediately.
Matthews has already filed several motions aimed at challenging the court's authority over him, but the judge isn't swayed.
Let me explain to you the rules here in the court. Let me explain to you the rules of the court, sir.
I'm not here to take part in fraud, not at all.
Judge Spells warns Matthews that by continuing to interrupt her, he's pushing his luck with the court.
You can be found in contempt if you continue to interrupt me. We'll proceed with trial with you in abstention, sir, and we're going to find you in contempt. What I'm going to do is give you...
That's the record. The court intentions coercion to...
You're interrupting the proceedings of the court, sir, and it is direct contempt. It is direct contempt, and we're going to take you into custody, sir. We will give you a hearing, and we'll have the hearing. We will find counsel for you.
As deputies close in on Matthews, tensions reach a boiling point.
Don't touch her back. Don't touch her. Don't touch her. I'm not. Don't touch her. Don't touch her.
As Matthews squares off against the deputy, two off-duty police officers in the jury box get up to help detain him.
Don't touch me! Don't touch me! I'm not! Don't touch me! Don't touch me!
One of them throws several punches at Matthews. As Judge Spells and courtroom staff clear the area.
Get on the ground! Get on the ground!
More deputies pile into the courtroom as Matthews is taken to the ground.
I got him.
In total, 6 people are involved in taking Matthews down. After several minutes and 2 pairs of handcuffs, Matthews is escorted out of the courtroom. The following day, Matthews appears again before Judge Spells to answer for the contempt of court charge. He's still representing himself, but this time he has a new attitude.
Yesterday's proceeding was in error on my behalf. I take full blame for my actions.
The court believes the conduct of Mr. Matthews severely threatened the integrity of the court and its proceedings, and such that immediate action was necessary.
Judge Spells sentenced Matthews to a year of probation and time served for both the driving on a suspended license and contempt of court charges. But he was also charged with 2 counts of assault on a peace officer and 1 count of obstructing official business as a result of his scuffle with the court deputies and other court officials. He remains free awaiting trial on those charges.
We're in Placerville, California, for the arraignment of 39-year-old Asher Edwards.
Hello, Judge.
Good afternoon, sir.
Edwards' demeanor may seem pleasant, but just a few days earlier, his alleged behavior was anything but. He was charged with making terrorist threats, assault with a deadly weapon, and obstructing peace officers after a domestic disturbance escalated into a 2-day police standoff.
Mr. Edwards, this is the time and place set for your arraignment. Do you consent to have an arraignment by video conference?
Sir, is this an Maritime Admiralty Law courtroom that we're processing me through?
No, it's not.
Edwards considers himself a sovereign citizen who lives as a free man, as they like to say, under common law as established by the Founding Fathers. Maritime Admiralty law that he's referencing is the law of the sea and international commerce, a body of law that sovereign citizens believe to be the foundation of the country's modern legal system, which they reject.
This is not a Maritime Admiralty Law courtroom. I believe so.
No.
Absolutely, it is. All courtrooms in this country are maritime admiralty law courtrooms that process people, aren't they?
No, sir.
That's false information. Well, either way, this courtroom is trying to process me as state property. You see this fictitious name statement? Asher Edwards, spelled in all capital letters? This is not my name.
Edwards is referring to another sovereign belief that beginning at birth, one is issued a government identity, meaning one's name is spelled in all capital letters, such as on a birth certificate or social security card, and that doesn't represent one's true or free self.
This name was issued to me without my consent, and you cannot legally process me through this courtroom with this without this name in all capital letters that was issued without my consent. My name is spelled Asher Edwards, first capital, all lowercase, Edwards, first capital, all lowercase, and this is the birth name given to me by my parents, protected by the Constitution of the United States.
Even as Edwards grows louder and more animated, the judge appears to take it all in stride and even allows the defendant to finish his rant.
Therefore, it is illegal for you to process me through this courtroom, so you guys have to figure out something else to do with me.
But this judge is all business, so figuring out something else to do with Edwards is not in his plans.
Court will enter a not guilty plea on your behalf. Will show time is not waived. We'll set this matter for pre-preliminary hearing within the statutory period.
And I would like to see the gun. It said I had a gun. I've never had a gun.
As Edwards continues his rant about the alleged gun, the judge reaches for his own weapon of choice, the mute button.
They're lying.
Do not speak while I am speaking, sir.
Edwards continues to plead his case, but to no avail.
Court will set bail in the amount of $72,500. Next matter.
Asher Edwards would later be found guilty of all the charges and sentenced to 1 year in prison. We're in Charleston, West Virginia, for a pretrial hearing.
Ernie T Elden, Ernie T Elden, Ernie T Elden.
Henry T. Elden is in the courtroom, but he is refusing the magistrate's order to come forward to the defendant's table.
I have called him thrice. I have no response. Get up here in this seat right now.
That's right, the judge called him thrice. Elden is facing multiple charges, including fraudulent official proceedings and fraudulent service of indebtedness related to falsely filing claims with the court. Today, he's joined in the courtroom by a friend who's recording the proceedings on his cell phone and getting involved himself.
I'm a witness, okay? Okay, what I'm saying is, he is present, and he's chosen not to step up there. He's asking not for an appointed lawyer. He doesn't need an attorney.
So you're acting in the capacity
I'm not
of lawyer?
acting. I'm a witness.
You're a
This is
witness?
American National.
American National.
American National is another nod to the sovereign citizen movement that both he and the defendant identify with. Eventually, Elden does respond to the magistrate, Ward Harshbarger, but still refuses to come forward.
The court reporter has to be established before anything can proceed.
Well, okay, well, get up in your seat now, and we will wait for that. We have some preliminary thing.
We're all waiting for the court reporter to be...
Do it now. All right, this is State versus Henry T. Elden Jr. Mr. Elden, I need to have a seat at the defendant's table.
For the record, I'm
Shut
a
up and
witness.
sit down. You sit down and not say another word.
Seemingly getting more aggravated, the magistrate turns to his courtroom deputy for assistance.
Would you get Mr. Elden? Will you show you where the seat is, please?
May I have permission?
You may have a seat right there.
I'm happy with
You may have a seat right there.
Elden finally gets up to the stand before the judge, but it won't be for long.
You are going to be held in contempt.
All right, Mr. Elden, can you just stand up for me, please? Turn around and place your hands behind your back, if you would.
And who are you? And do you have a warrant, a signed
I do
warrant?
not have a warrant. I've just been made aware by the judge that he wants me to take you into custody for obstructing judicial process, okay?
But before the magistrate had the defendant arrested and cuffed, he pulls a final move out of every parent's playbook and counts to 3.
1. Have a seat. 2. Have a seat, please.
I would like to speak, and I have information to present. I don't know how I'm instructing.
Last warning.
You won't comply
Get in the
with what he's
seat
asking
and
you
we'll
to do.
proceed.
Again, locked in a stalemate, the magistrate decides to just get down to business.
How do you plead?
I would like to see your oath of office. I'd like to see your letter accepting and acknowledging your office. And I would like to see the same for the prosecuting attorney. And to know the names of everyone in this room. I need that before I understand what's going on, sir.
So the answer, and I will answer for him, is not guilty. Okay?
I haven't made any plea, nor should you make one for
right.
me. I don't accept that.
Okay.
I don't accept
Well, I don't care
anything that's
whether
happened
you
here today.
accept it or not,
I
Mr.
did not
Elden.
in your own
You
position.
may escort him out. Court's adjourned.
The court wouldn't confirm the details, but according to Eldon, he did not appear for his next court hearing and was arrested on a bench warrant and served 2 weeks in jail. He also says the original fraudulent service and fraudulent official proceedings charges against him were later dropped.
You are in contempt, Mr. Telgate?
No, I'm not.
Be quiet right now.
You
I
are
will
in
have you
contempt of
arrested.
law, Stormy.
We're in Eureka, Montana, and the man wearing the no hunting or trespassing sign around his neck is Ernie T Tate, Montana's proverbial sovereign citizen, better known as the natural living man. The 57-year-old's in court today representing himself on charges of driving with a suspended license and obstructing a peace officer during his arrest. But now, after Telgate interrupted proceedings during jury selection, Judge Stormy Langston holds him in contempt of court.
You are in contempt, Mr. Telgate?
No, I'm not.
Be quiet right
You
now. I
are
will
in
have you
contempt of
arrested.
law, Stormy. You're in contempt of law. I'm standing for my
Officer
country's
Hines,
constitution, my
take
country's
Mr.
people.
Telgate into custody, please.
And I'm not keeping hands off me, Clint.
As security attempts to remove Telgate, town attorney Clifton Hayden keeps one of his supporters at bay.
Do we understand? Keep your hands off of me. Keep your hands off of me. Keep your hands off of me. Clinton Hines, you are guilty of conducting a military crime of foreign war. I'm an officer of justice.
Just as it looks like Telgate is being escorted out, he isn't.
What are we doing?
Back off.
Telgate is almost out of the courtroom when he grabs the doorway and pushes back against the officer.
What are we doing?
Back off.
Leave me alone, Clinton.
As the somewhat awkward wrestling match continues, Telgate's supporters add commentary.
This man. Leave me alone. Deserve this. Leave me alone. Unconstitutional.
He hasn't done any wrong.
So I'm gonna get hurt. Why has no one been able to tell him what wrong he's done? Doing me harm. Why has no one been able to tell him what wrong he's done?
Back off. Are you getting in it?
I'm backing off. Respect me.
From the floor, Telgate continues the sovereign citizen argument that the court doesn't hold jurisdiction over him.
When I comply, it will not be because contract is established.
When Telgate finally gets handcuffed, one of his supporters addresses Judge Langston.
Your Honor, can I ask a question without getting contempt for it?
What is your question, sir?
My question is what did Ernie do wrong? What did he do wrong?
He's not following the procedure and
The court has no jurisdiction.
What are the procedures to follow? The Constitution.
The court has no jurisdiction. This court has never answered for one thing. Okay.
At the very least, the common rules of being civil in a civil society.
Can we hold that officer as standstill,
Remove
please,
my
right now?
materials. All these people here.
No, you don't.
Listen, all these people, remove my materials. Get my hat, my constitution.
Following the incident, Ernie T Tate was found guilty of contempt of court, but served no jail time. He was also charged with assaulting a peace officer. That case is still pending. As for his original charge of driving with a suspended license, he was also found guilty, but again served no jail time. The charge of obstructing a peace officer was dismissed.
Next, we go to a bond hearing in Broward County, Judge John Hurley presiding. The defendant is David Hall, a sovereign citizen who basically believes that certain laws don't apply to him.
Mr. Hall has declined the services of the public defender, Your Honor.
Hall is here for driving under the influence and driving with a suspended license.
Mr. Hall, DUI, expired driver's license.
Good morning, Judge.
As soon as the judge attempts to read the charges, Hall begins interrupting.
Sir, I haven't said for the court how I'm appearing today,
Well,
sir.
I'm not asking you yet. Just give me a moment, all right? I need to look at your record.
Turns out Hall is currently out on bond for 2 previous charges of driving with a suspended license. But that's not going to stop him from trying to make his case.
Sir, today I'm appearing as the agent and settler for David Hall.
Okay. Could you get Mr. Hall for me then, sir? Where is he?
I go by that name, sir. My name sounds exactly like the defendant's, and I'm here to settle that matter today.
So are you and David Hall one and the same person?
I'm not a person, I'm an individual. David Hall is a person, I am a private individual.
Hall's legalese is unconventional, to say the least, but the judge allows him to continue.
May I say something else for the record, sir?
Go ahead, sir.
I appear here today as the settler, agent, not the person, but the individual. And I don't think I should have, you understand the difference between a person and an individual.
Agent, and you're the individual, but you're not the person. Is that correct?
Correct. Correct.
I'm going to write that down.
Judge Hurley is unfazed by Hall's attempt at a Jedi mind trick and begins to turn the tables.
Here's what we're going to do. The settler, the agent, the individual, and maybe even the person, David Hall, has been charged with DUI. So today, the court's going to set the settler, the agent, the individual's bond, and even the person's bond today at $10,000 because the settler, the agent, the individual, and the person continues to drive without a driver's license.
Hall's new bond is $10,000, but because this charge is a violation of his original bond, all versions of David Hall must remain in jail unless he can come up with the cash.
Both cases will cause the settler, the agent, the individual, and even the person, David Hall, not to be able to be released from the Broward County Jail until further notice of the court. So.
May I post bond, sir?
Now it's Judge Hurley's turn to have some fun.
Well,
is there any other?
Are you asking me as the settler, the agent, the individual, or are you asking me as the person?
Sir, I'm asking as the individual appearing before you today, the opportunity.
Who are you speaking on behalf of right now?
Sir, I don't understand that question. I believe that you're trying to confuse me now. I'm not the person, sir.
Okay,
I am not
the person, David Hall. Tell him he's not leaving jail either, all right? Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Come on. Down the middle. Let's roll.
Next, we're at the Cheshire County Courthouse in Keene, New Hampshire. Court is currently in recess, but there is trouble brewing in the gallery.
Your choice is take the hat off or step outside.
The judge asked this man, Bo Davis, to remove his hat or leave. Otherwise, he could be charged with contempt of court. But Davis refuses.
So I have force threatened upon me if I were to wear a hat.
Davis and some others seated around him are associated with the New Hampshire-based anti-government movement. They're here to support a fellow member who's the defendant in a, quote, right to travel case that's in recess. These so-called sovereign citizens claim to be pushing back against what they consider overreach in the criminal justice system, and they're not afraid to get vocal about it.
I think you misunderstood. It's the judge's authority when he comes back. If at that point he says he's in contempt, then you have the authority.
Would not have been an issue had you. Your choice is take the hat off. I'm trying to be as nice as I can. I can't. You're making threats.
After more back and forth with Davis and relentless commentary from others in the gallery,
what's the matter with you guys, huh?
the bailiff is finally done discussing the matter.
Stand up, please.
Sir, treat others as you would wish to
Come on,
be.
please. I'm being nice.
Well,
I'm not going to assist in my own arrest.
I don't. You should take your hands off that man.
Please stand up.
A second bailiff comes to help escort Davis out, but again he refuses to stand.
I'm not going to assist in my own arrest. I'm not asking you to assist him.
Please do not hurt him.
Instead of dragging Davis out of the courtroom, the bailiffs use a wheelchair.
Just leave people alone, you know.
As Davis is wheeled out, the group continues to insult the bailiffs.
Ever considered like a real job, one where you don't use violence against people?
Despite their protests, the court has authority to make rules about conduct in the courtroom. So a short time later, the judge returned to the courtroom and sentenced Bo Davis to 5 days in jail for contempt of court.
You know, you were going to take my picture. I got a haircut.
Good one. I'm glad you can make jokes.
Meet the man in the fur cap, 21-year-old Robert Peterson. He's the person filming this footage as he enters the Kootenai County Courthouse in Idaho.
That has to go through the X-ray machine if you want to come in this building.
Peterson is a hearing for a minor traffic infraction, riding his bicycle at night without a light. But from the moment he steps inside the door, it's clear this won't be a typical security check.
And I'd just like to know where your warrant is.
I don't need it.
It's clearly posted on the entry to the building.
What? Clearly posted that I have to forfeit my right to be free from unreasonable search and seizure?
Coming into this building.
Yeah, every person is. I'm not a person. I'm a man.
And more specifically, a free man. Peterson considers himself a sovereign citizen.
I'm not subject to your jurisdiction, and the court has already confirmed that. I'm here for one purpose. All right.
You can submit or you can leave.
That's fine. I mean, I'll do that, but you will be charged a bill.
Charged a bill? Rather than escalating the situation, one of the bailiffs decides to play along.
You will be served a bill. I don't have any weapons. I didn't come here to raise a ruckus.
After clearing security, Peterson finds a seat at the rear of the courtroom and continues filming.
So there are no cameras in the court.
Excuse me?
There are no cameras in the court.
Yeah, there is.
No, you have to put that away.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
Under what authority?
You have to have a court order from a judge before you can have a camera in the courtroom.
Okay, well, I'm going to capture this on video.
You got to turn it off.
It's for both of our protection.
Well, you have to turn it off.
No, thank you.
Enter bailiff number 2.
Shut the camera off now.
No, thank you. I do not consent to you touching me or seizing my property, so you need to back up.
Shut the camera off now.
I'm not doing anything wrong.
Yes, you are.
I'm holding you accountable because you're about to overstep your bounds.
The bailiffs then decide to clear the courtroom and question Peterson directly.
What's your first and last name?
I don't have a last name.
You don't have a last name?
No.
What's your first name?
I don't have a first name either. I've got a name. My name is Robert. You can call me Robert.
As you can see, this bailiff keeps his sense of humor about the situation.
What are you? Are you human?
I'm a man.
You're human?
I'm a man, yes.
Can I see your Idaho state license?
No, I don't have one.
You don't have one?
My person does, but I don't.
With the situation seemingly diffused,
Come on in, folks.
the bailiffs usher everyone back into the courtroom. Well, except for one person.
Excuse me.
Camera.
Excuse me. You're blocking my freedom of movement.
I am.
All right. Well, P. Barnes, you just admitted to me that you're violating my rights.
No, I'm not. You can't come in with the camera.
Well, you're violating my rights. And this is also freedom of the press.
From behind you.
This is also freedom of the press. I mean, I don't know what the hell law book you're reading, man, but it doesn't apply to me. Why are you worried about cameras? Because you want to do something wrong? Because you want to do something wrong? Because if it's against the rules, that means it's because somebody intends on wronging somebody else. Because they're afraid of being held accountable. P. Barnes.
It's a nice speech, but you're still not coming in.
Well, please step aside. I'm going in.
No, you're not going in.
Don't touch me.
You're not going in, sir.
Let the record show that you just battered me.
Step back.
And you're using...
Step back.
After Peterson refuses to step back, Chief Bailiff Pete Barnes fires his taser.
And you're using...
Stop.
please. I'm not doing anything wrong. Hey, you know what? You guys are really overstepping your bounds right now.
Put the cuffs on him.
Put the cuffs on. What are you arresting me for?
The answer to that question? Peterson's charged with 3 counts of battery and 1 count of contempt of court. He would later enter an Alford plea, meaning he didn't admit to committing a crime, but acknowledged there was likely enough evidence to convict him. Jail time was waived as part of the plea deal, and he was ordered to pay a fine for his original charge of riding a bike at night without a light.
Get out of the vehicle! Get out now!
Next, we go to a preliminary hearing in Chattanooga, Tennessee. The defendant is 38-year-old Gregory Parker. He's been charged with reckless endangerment, driving with a revoked license, resisting arrest, and a number of other charges. 4 months earlier, Parker was driving on a Tennessee highway when State Trooper Dale Herring clocked him going 91 miles per hour in a 65 zone. After a few minutes, the officer catches up to him.
It's a red Chevy pickup with ladders on top. Not yet. I believe he's looking for a safe place to pull over.
Officer Herring remains calm, thinking the driver is about to pull over.
T21, we're approaching Broad, 18 miles an hour at the stoplight.
After a couple of miles, Parker comes to a stop at a traffic light. He's also been live streaming the incident over social media.
Well, I'm being pulled over. Got a Tennessee Highway Patrol behind me.
Hey, get out!
The officer approaches the vehicle, and he's all business.
Get out of the vehicle! Get out now! Get out of the vehicle now! Get out of the vehicle now!
Herring's in no mood for conversation.
Get out of the vehicle now! Get out of the vehicle now!
Emergency! Why are you jerking on me? What's the problem?
You have any weapons on you?
What's the problem?
Put that cell phone down. Why are you doing this? Put your hands behind your back.
What's the emergency? What crime have I committed?
You didn't stop.
I was trying to find a safe place to pull off, brother.
You didn't stop. You passed up plenty.
The officer brings Parker to his feet and gives him the news.
You're under arrest.
You have a warrant for my arrest?
You're under arrest.
For what?
For not stopping.
Parker was arrested and released on $60,000 bond. He arrives at his preliminary hearing with his camera rolling, and things are off to a rough start.
Go that way. Go that way. Don't be pushing on me. Go this way. Why are you assaulting me? Get your hands off of me.
Sir, move out the way.
I do not consent with this bullshit anyhow. Don't be pushing me around. Before I cross this bar, I waive no rights and I retain all my rights.
Parker barely acknowledges the authority of the court or the judge. His legal arguments are ones commonly used by sovereign citizens, a group who believes certain laws don't apply to them.
Do you
I don't have an attorney. I have no need for one.
The judge provides Parker with a public defender, who will act only as an armchair attorney. Parker will handle the questioning of Officer Herring himself. He asks Herring a number of seemingly irrelevant questions, perhaps hoping to confuse the officer.
When did you come to the determination I was driving?
When I got behind you and you're behind the wheel of the vehicle.
I think that's been answered, sir. You can ask your next question.
Do you know the difference between driving and traveling?
I'm going to object to that question because it's irrelevant under the state law.
That's completely irrelevant.
I'll sustain the objection. You may ask your next question.
Who is the victim in this situation?
I'm going to object to the relevance of that.
Sustained. That is not relevant. You may ask your next question, sir.
Finally, after realizing his tactics don't seem to be working, Parker calls it quits.
I ain't playing y'all's game no more. Go ahead, do what you're doing.
After hearing from both sides, the judge makes her decision on whether the case will move forward.
I find that there's probable cause to believe that all these crimes were committed, and they were committed by this defendant here in this county. And I will bind these cases over to the grand jury.
Parker's pled not guilty, and his trial is pending. If convicted on all charges, he could spend 20 years in prison.
I ain't playing y'all's game no more.
Kesha Johnson.
Now to Louisville, Kentucky, and the Jefferson County District Court. An arraignment hearing is underway for 18-year-old Kesha Johnson, who's charged with possession of marijuana, drug paraphernalia, and tampering with physical evidence.
Come on up here, ma'am.
I would like to stand here.
When called upon, Johnson decides to address the judge, Sean Delahanty, from the back of the court.
No, you stand at this podium.
Awesome.
I
Could you tell me what,
Come on, you have to come up here. We can't record
what
your
laws
back.
you guys operate under?
The laws of the state of Kentucky.
Yes. As in like amity law, common law, statutory?
Come up here and stand at this podium. I have to get you on the record so that we can see you with your argument.
Okay, well, for on the record, I reserve my right before crossing this bench.
Johnson's refusing to cooperate because she's part of a sovereign citizens movement, which rejects institutions and believe they aren't bound by the country's laws.
Well, Mr. Johnson, I really don't want to create some big scene.
Okay, well,
Hang on a second. I do not want to lock you up, but I may very well have to. I need for you to come up here and stand at this podium.
Can I just sit there so
No, you cannot. No, you cannot. You have to come up here and stand at this podium.
As the bizarre scene plays out, there's another disruption in the back of the courtroom when a bailiff tells 36-year-old Jenna Vondran to stop filming on her cell phone.
Show me the law. Show me the law.
In Kentucky, judges are given broad discretion on allowing filming in their courtrooms.
This is my property. Show me the law.
All right.
Show me the law.
Chris?
Show me the law.
Chris?
Show me the law.
Go ahead and lock her up. Go ahead and take her into custody.
Watch as the judge looks down and presses his panic button to summon additional deputies to the courtroom.
What are you doing? There's no right. You have no right.
You sit over there. Nothing about
You have no right. No right for that.
Yeah, I'm not finished with her yet. All right.
After a quick reset, the original defendant, Kesha Johnson, finally comes forward to the podium.
You're charged with possession of marijuana, tampering with physical evidence, and possession of drug paraphernalia.
I don't understand any of that.
All right. Well, you're charged with illegally possessing marijuana.
Yes, I can.
While the judge's attention is back with Johnson, deputies in the hallway are still trying to get control of Vondran, the woman with the cell phone.
I don't understand any of those charges.
Well, there's not a whole lot more. There's not a whole lot more I can do to try to explain to you.
When trying to play clueless doesn't work, Johnson goes back on the offensive.
Let's start here. Can you guys prove jurisdiction? Prove jurisdiction, because I come in under common law. Prove your jurisdiction, that you have jurisdiction over me. Prove jurisdiction. A court cannot proceed until you guys prove jurisdiction. Show me your jurisdiction. Show me your law.
All right. All of our laws are codified in the Kentucky Revised Statute.
Show me jurisdiction. Show me the law.
Hey, there you go.
Okay, that doesn't prove that you have jurisdiction.
Okay, so what else? Now, there's a simple way for me to prove jurisdiction to you. I'm going to ask the deputy to go ahead and take you into custody.
Under what charges?
Under
what charges?
You are disrupting my court. All right, we're going to pass her case to tomorrow.
You guys have been mistreated, and it's wrong. Under common law, under the United States Constitution. And if they keep doing this, then let us...
Kesha Johnson's arrested and charged with contempt of court. Fast forward to the next day, and she's about to face a new judge.
Kesha Johnson, 56.
This time, Johnson's represented by an attorney.
I don't know how familiar you are with this, but this
I'm
case...
familiar. Podium flipper.
Okay.
I've heard a little bit about it from yesterday. All right, so this is Miss Johnson. We'll note that she's in custody today. She's brought over and present.
And she'd like to make a statement to the court.
I had time to think about it, and I believe, and I've learned that I need to represent myself in a respectable manner while in front of the judge.
Okay, so obviously that behavior will not be tolerated. That's why you ended up where you are.
Kesha Johnson's found guilty of contempt of court and is released from jail after serving 1 day. On her original charges, 2 were dropped, but she's found guilty of possession of marijuana, fined $185. As for Jenna Vondran, who was arrested after filming in the courtroom,
all right, go ahead and lock her up.
She's found guilty of disorderly conduct and serves 1 day in jail. Next, we're at the Gallatin County Courthouse in Bozeman, Montana.
The defendant, Ernie Wayne Telgate, he is not represented by counsel here today.
52-year-old Ernie Telgate is charged with obstructing a peace officer and resisting arrest after he was caught fishing without a license. The hearing is just underway.
Mr. Telgate has been charged with 2 misdemeanor offenses, which we'll be trying today.
I must object. I am not the name that he is referring to. I am the living man. The name that Mr. Riley refers to, ma'am, is held by the state in all capital letters and is identified by the state on the state's driver's license, ma'am. I am not the all capital fiction. I am the living man whose mark is that of life.
Telgate is representing himself today as the natural living man. It's his own interpretation of a sovereign citizen.
Mr. Telgate, you are not to interrupt Mr. Riley again.
Who can tell the living man in a commercial event such as this,
sir,
who has the right to tell the living man when he can speak and when he cannot speak, what sounds he can make and what sounds he cannot make?
You understand?
He is addressing British law, ma'am. He is a minister on behalf of Great Britain.
Great Britain? It seems this living man takes issue with the traditional British title of Esquire, being used in an American courtroom.
I'm going to hold you in contempt if you continue to disrupt this.
Ma'am, why, please give me an honorable answer, is a British recognized Esquire asking questions in an American courtroom? Why is title of nobility applied behind this gentleman's name that is recognized as being banned from our country in the 1789 Constitution? Is nobody going to stand for our Constitution?
Telgate may not believe in courtroom formalities, but he does believe in interrupting. And Judge Wanda Drush has had enough.
Mr. Talbot, you'll be taken up to a jury room where we may watch the proceedings. I have reminded you twice now.
If I give you recognition.
Well, please stand up.
All right.
Stand up.
No,
Stand up.
pick me up. I cannot give you recognition. I'm constrained by the United States Constitution of 1789.
Before he's escorted out, Telgate hurls a Yankee Doodle dandy of an insult at the prosecuting attorney.
Sir, you're a Bozeman native. What are you doing packing a British recognition? Should be ashamed of yourself.
Banned from participating, Telgate can only watch the courtroom remotely, as his case is finally able to continue. The jury would eventually find him guilty, and although jail time is waived, he's ordered to pay more than $400 in fines.
Can't take away my rights, period, anyways. My rights are inalienable, sir.
Next, we're in Phoenix, Arizona, where Michael Crane, a self-identified sovereign citizen, has requested to change his plea from not guilty to guilty for just a few of the many charges hanging over his head. The 38-year-old's facing 3 counts of first-degree murder in a separate case for allegedly shooting 3 people to death inside their homes during 2 separate robberies. But today he's pleading guilty to lesser charges of burglary, theft, and weapons misconduct in 2 cases unrelated to the alleged murders.
Mr. Crane, it's my understanding that you wish to change your plea.
I've already told you that I'm willing to accept responsibility for all these charges. So that is what I'm telling you right now.
You're giving up your right to a jury trial where you'd be represented by a lawyer. Do you understand that?
I understand that, but I don't agree with that.
You're giving up your right to cross-examine or question any witness the state called. Do you understand that?
I understand that, but I don't agree with that.
To say Crane doesn't agree with the legal process is an understatement.
You understand that if you plead guilty, you're giving up constitutional rights.
Which U.S. are we talking? Are we talking about the federal constitution of the District of Columbia, that U.S. Constitution, or are we talking about the states of the Union common law constitution?
For nearly an hour, Crane spouts more sovereign law ideology.
I ask you again, Are we working under admiralty law, under statutory jurisdiction? Let the record show that Mr. Crane is a sovereign man born in the states of the Union. Rights. If you're calling me a person or a domicile or an agent in the District of Columbia, sure, you can take away my rights, but I am neither of those.
Finally, he does enter a guilty plea, which, if you can remember, was the whole purpose of the hearing.
It's a choice to trial or a choice for me to accept your plea. Given that choice, which would you prefer?
The choice to accept the plea only under my conditions.
And just when it looks like the hearing was going to end, it doesn't.
I'm not going to sign a contract that's going to send me to prison, not voluntarily.
Crane argues he won't sign any legal paperwork to make his guilty plea official.
Are you saying that you have the authority to force me, a sovereign American man, that's going to send me to prison? Because this is what this comes down to at the end of the day.
Yes.
Wow, okay. Thank you. That's all I wanted to hear.
Ultimately, Michael Crane would affirm his guilty plea for the charges of burglary, theft, and weapons misconduct. But before he's sentenced for those charges, Crane pleaded guilty to numerous other crimes, including the 3 counts of murder. That plea came as part of an agreement with the prosecution where they took the death penalty off the table. He was later sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms in prison. Next, we go to St. Joseph County, Michigan for a pretrial hearing. The defendant is Samuel Purdue, who also goes by the name Samir Siraj Maro-Bey. He's charged with driving with a suspended license and contempt of court. The judge hearing the case over Zoom is Jeffrey Middleton.
There are currently 3 separate warrants for your arrest for failing to appear, but you're here now.
Purdue's troubles began a year earlier when he received his first charge of driving with a suspended license. About a month later, he picked up another violation. That's when he first appeared before the judge to enter a plea.
Mr. Purdue, you got another ticket for driving with a suspended license. Second offense, that's a misdemeanor punishable by up to a year in jail and a fine of up to $1,000. You're also charged with speeding. I'm assuming you're going to plead not guilty to both of those?
No, of course not. I'm innocent, and my name is not Mr. Purdue, so I would appreciate if you didn't call me Mr. Purdue.
Purdue considers himself a sovereign citizen, someone native to the land who is not beholden to all U.S. laws. Judge Middleton is familiar with this defense, but did not give Purdue much latitude.
Yeah, you're from some alternate universe where you don't have to obey the laws of
No,
the
you don't
state.
respect the law, sir.
Stop.
Your commercial mercenaries continue to pull me over, and they won't leave me alone.
Well, stop driving. At least stay out
I
of
don't drive. I travel.
All right, traveling is one thing, driving is another. You can travel all you want.
They won't let me travel on my own land. You're violating the law, and you know it.
Well, one of us is. I'm just telling you, if you continue to keep driving on some cockamamie thing...
Sovereign citizens often try to make a distinction between driving and traveling.
You're behind the wheel of a car, give me this BS about traveling versus driving. I'm just telling you right now, you heard it here. If you drive again in St. Joseph County and you get another ticket, I'm going to set a very high bond. You can sit in jail for 28 days until we sort this out.
So any judge who does not comply with this oath of office to the Constitution of the United States...
All right, I'm going to mute your microphone. I don't want to hear this crazy, nonsensical thing.
Middleton ended the proceedings and scheduled a pretrial hearing, which Purdue failed to attend. Now, 2 weeks later, Purdue's given a second chance, a second pretrial hearing. But by now, the judge is clearly annoyed with him, especially since Purdue has chosen to represent himself.
We scheduled a pretrial conference and you didn't show up. And there are currently 3 separate warrants for your arrest for failing to appear.
I think I was unaware.
We sent that to the address that you gave us. And if you're representing yourself, you need to act like you're representing yourself. We sent you duly notice to your address.
I don't live there anymore, and I can't represent myself. I am myself.
All right, well, you didn't tell me where you lived. You didn't show up for a pretrial while we prepared for this. And now you come rolling in with a hat on.
It's not a hat. It's my religious headdress. I'm a Moorish American national.
Yes, I recall. Do you have something you wish to present?
Well, I mailed in an affidavit to you, and this is also my legal notice for my lawful name change, because I put it on the record that I'm a Moorish American national, and I'm not a U.S. citizen, excuse me. I'm a man of the land. I'm native to the land. So a lot of these rules that the state of Michigan is creating is not applicable to me.
By now, the judge has heard enough and decides to do something about it.
I want you to take Mr. Purdue into custody. We're going to execute the 3 bench warrants that are currently out for his arrest for contempt. We'll take him to jail and we'll make an arrangement later to discuss it.
Are you arresting me right now?
Right. Mr. Purdue, you're going to jail, St. Joe County Jail, here in St. Joe County, and I'm going to hold on to you in lieu of 3 $1,000 bonds until we can review your contempt and the other things we need to deal with. But if you're going to represent yourself, you need to do it right. You don't just come in and say, I'm my own country, I'm going to do what I want. So you're going to jail.
After 4 days in jail, Purdue was released. He later took a plea deal from the prosecutor and pled no contest to allowing another to violate motor vehicle laws, an obscure statute in the Michigan Traffic Code. He was sentenced to the 4 days in jail with credit for time served, plus court fines and costs. Next, we go to a Zoom hearing in Detroit, Michigan. The defendant is Bonita Sel. She's been charged with 1 count of assault and battery. The judge hearing the case is Lanice Bryant. Sel failed to appear at an earlier hearing, so a warrant was issued for her appearance today.
All right, ma'am, please unmute yourself.
After a few formalities, the judge makes a simple request of the defendant.
State your name for the record, please.
Islam, I self-law am master and proper persona, sojourners or heritage of the land.
Ma'am, I said state your name. I didn't.
I will state for this X-rail.
Ma'am, listen, let me say this to you.
This trade.
Sel's attempting to use the sovereign citizen argument, which challenges the overall jurisdiction of the court. But Judge Bryant has heard this before, and she's not about to put up with it.
This trade name, no, this trade name.
If you didn't come to court to participate in court, please don't come back to my courtroom. So I've muted you, so therefore we can't even hear what you're saying.
With the undeniable power of the mute button, Judge Bryant begins a verbal dress down of the defendant.
If a person did not have jurisdiction over me, if I believed that a person, that an entity, I promise you, I would not get up out of my bed. I would not take a time off of work. I would not stop anything that I was doing for that day. So if you believe, Miss Sel, from the bottom of your heart, that I nor this court has any jurisdiction over you, ma'am, don't come. You don't come.
Looks like defense attorney John Trummer's enjoying the judge's speech.
I would not stop anything that I was doing for that day. Apparently, you all don't believe that you're citizens. I don't really care what you believe.
Feeling like she's made her point, the judge returns to the case.
Okay, so we can try this one more time. If you want to state your name for the record, then you can state your name for the record. If you're going to say all of that other stuff to me that I don't have jurisdiction, then I'm going to go ahead and move on to another case.
And with that, the judge gives Sel another chance.
Ma'am, please state your name for the record.
Bonita Ayana Davis Sel.
Thank you, Miss Sel. How are we proceeding?
Innocent.
The court is going to enter a not guilty plea on behalf of Ms. Seeley. I will set this matter for a pretrial conference.
If Seeley's case makes it to trial and she's found guilty, she could serve 90 days in jail.
Anything further, Ms. Seeley?
Well, I would like to say something, but I see that I'm gonna just keep my peace.
All right, then you have a great day and stay safe.
You too.
Thank you.
Next, we're in Adrian, Michigan for a virtual sentencing hearing. The defendant is a sovereign citizen named Robert Matson, who previously appeared before Judge Michael Olsaver after police found cocaine and an open alcohol container in his car during a traffic stop. His public defender negotiated a deal where Matson would plead guilty to reduced charges and be set free until sentencing. But it did not exactly go as planned.
Mr. Matson, can you raise your right hand, please?
Hey, if I'm not gonna get out today, there's no deal. We got trial Friday, I'm just going to trial. I want to make sure that I'm going to be released, so I'm not going to take the plea today.
Ultimately, Matson's lawyer convinced him to take the deal being offered that day, and he was set free on a no-fee bond. 3 months later, he's back in Judge Olsaver's court for sentencing, and rather than simply hearing what his punishment is, Matson is ready to argue his case all over again.
So we are on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Robert Joseph Matson.
Judge, I think the court's making a big mistake here.
Mr. Matson, we had discussed these issues, and ultimately you pled guilty of your own choice. And so I'm going to sentence you on that charge today.
I don't feel that I've had a fair chance. I have not relinquished any sovereign immunities that I have with the courts ever since I even started with the court, because the court, the only one I've ever taken an oath to is God Almighty himself, one lawgiver, one creator, one judge. That's God Almighty. That's who I recognize.
All right, the recommendation from your probation officer is that you serve 1 year of probation. I think under normal circumstances, that would be an adequate recommendation with he's gone.
Matson has dropped out of the virtual hearing with no warning. His lawyer and a probation officer try to call him, but he's gone to a doctor's appointment. The judge has had enough.
If we don't have any contact from Mr. Matson by the end of the day to finish this sentencing, I'm going to issue a bench warrant for his arrest, and we will finish the sentencing from the Lenawee County Jail.
2 hours later, Matson logs back into the virtual courtroom, and the judge picks up where he left off, with a couple of requests of Matson.
Mr. Matson, we are in a court proceeding right now, and so I'm going to ask you not to eat anything and to remove your hood. Ultimately, Mr. Matson, I'm going to give you a chance at probation, which includes restrictions on alcoholic beverages and substance use. If you choose not to comply, then I am going to be imposing jail time. And I'll just tell you now, it'll be a short leash, because it will be the sentence of the court that you serve a period of probation for 1 year. Do you understand that, Mr. Matson?
Yes, I do.
Judge Olsaver sends Matson to speak to the probation officer, and the matter is closed, as long as Matson follows his probation requirements.